This episode is sponsored by
Eagle Rock Brewery.
Beer for the People.
It's Pat and Drew, Quick Sixer Podcast, Season 2, Episode 9. Today, we're live at Eagle Rock Brewing. Brewery?
Brewery.
Brewery.
Eagle Rock Brewery.
Okay. So this is our second live show from Brewery, Drew, and we're
Yeah.
really excited.
Excited to be at Eagle Rock.
Yeah, excited to be Eagle Rock. Excited to introduce our guest, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
What's up, guys?
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm Jeremy Raub. I'm one of the owners and founders of Eagle Rock Brewery. We've been here for about a little over 7 years now. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Is that like, were you into beer prior to doing this, or did you get talked into it? Like, how'd you get
How did the
involved?
brewery start?
yeah, it was home brewing is how many breweries start, and these days, anyways.
Mhm.
And that's same with us. My dad and I, my dad taught me to homebrew. This was like back in mid '90s. It was like '94, like done with high school, but like kind of like no, I think I was looking at colleges, and then my dad, I saw him brewing, and I was like, wow, this is cool. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It looks like green, and he's boiling hops, and it was just on a little pot on our stovetop, and I was like, that's gonna be beer? That's weird. But then I tasted the beer that he finished. I was like, that's pretty cool. So then it's like, yeah, I want to try it. I want to brew with you.
Yeah, for sure.
So we did a bunch of batches together back in those days, and then I went off to college, drank a lot of shitty beer, and forgot about
Like
any of
everybody.
that. I mean, also back in those days, it wasn't like there was the many options that you have now. So, the options for good beer were pretty limited, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, went off to college, drank a lot of cheap, shitty beer.
For sure.
Then moved out to LA to get into the film industry.
Cool.
And I did that. I was in the film industry for about 12 years total. But during that time, about 4 or 5 years after I moved to LA, my folks came out. I grew up in New York.
Mhm.
My folks moved out here, and so I said, hey, Dad, you still have some of that old homebrew stuff? Like, maybe we dig it out and have a little celebration batch, because the family's kind of reunited.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I do. That's a good idea. And then, this was 10 years later after, this was about 2004. So the options for like homebrewing supplies and like recipes and the availability of good beers was so much more than 10 years prior. So we brewed and had so much fun again. And then it was like, well, shit, there's so many options. And it's like, it was easy to kind of get bit by the bug at that point and just fall into brewing like once a month, and then let's make it better, and then twice a month, and like every week, and then getting kicked out of my kitchen into my garage, and then getting, like.
Were you able to experiment with different kinds of beers with your kits like that, or you can only do like one kind of beer?
I mean, it started out with kits and with extract brewing, and then got comfortable with the process, and then just started to had that desire to want to create something of our own, and had a lot of friends that were doing all grain brewing, and it was like, ooh, this kind of barrier, this scary, like, can we do it? Like, this. And then of course, we did it, made a huge mess the first time, and the beer turned out okay, and it's like, okay, well, we'll be fine, we'll keep doing this.
Then you basically came up with your craft, and that started this whole.
Yeah. I mean, really, that was it. We at that point, never had any formal training, just homebrewing and reading all the books I could, and same with my dad. I took a course at like a distance learning course through the Siebel Institute, because I still had my day job and was at that point writing the business plan for the brewery.
Right.
So I knew that I needed to have at least some just for my own confidence at least,
Yeah.
to have some more technical background.
Mhm.
So I did that, took that course through the Siebel Institute, and then just finished the business plan,
So
scrambled.
basically, you know your shit.
Well,
you know what's
yeah, I
going on.
guess I've been around long enough to at least know a little bit, know enough to be
Yeah.
dangerous, I guess.
Ooh.
So 2009, you got this set up. 2010 tap room,
Yep.
and it was just like kind of a, an obvious thing to do, to get people interested in your beer is to get people to come to the brewery and start drinking it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the time, there wasn't like the breweries that I looked up to and sort of set a goal to kind of, you know, to follow their footsteps and their business model. Um, they all had tasting rooms, but it seemed like all of the tasting rooms that whenever we visited breweries, all of the tasting rooms were almost an afterthought, like set up in the brew house and like
Yeah, we've kind of seen
kind of
yeah.
like not necessarily an afterthought, but it just wasn't like, it was more like, well, this will be the most convenient place to do it, and it might not be the most comfortable for guests. But then my wife and I used to go to, this is when we had money, before we started a business. We would go up and do wine tasting up in like Santa Ynez and Solvang in that area. And it was always a fun time, but it also was like an experience that was a lot more tailored to the customer. And like, even if you went to the spot where they were producing the wine and maybe even growing the wine, there was like a separate room set up that was just for the customers, and it was a really nice retail space.
Yeah.
So when we were getting this set up, we thought, we want to have more of a nice retail experience like that, like, a place where you can sit down, relax, you can see in the brew house and see that you're attached to the place where the beer is being made.
I think that's the dopest part of this tap room is, like, as you can see on the video, that you can look inside and see people working, see people like doing their thing.
rad. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one thing too, that like that whole window, I think it cost about $8,000 extra.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't believe some of
That's a
the.
dope ass window.
Well, so it was like, I
Ladder to clean a joint.
think the window itself and all of like the custom sizing, the glass, the glazing and everything was like, I think maybe $3,000, and then the $5,000 addition was there's a fire curtain that it was like building and safety was like, LA building and safety was like, well, you have an industrial space right next to a retail space and different occupancies, and if there's a fire back there, I'm like, well, the
you gotta
only
protect.
exit is there, so
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem getting out very quickly, but of course,
sure.
building codes are what
Yeah.
they are. So we had to get this thing installed. It's a metal curtain. There's a fuse that holds it up, and if there's a fire, that fuse will melt,
Oh.
and the curtain will drop, and that'll keep people safe in here.
Trapped inside.
So don't worry, if there's a fire in the back, you can finish your pint.
Rest assured.
Take your time, and then
go
you
finish
can
a drink.
mosey
Let
out. Yeah.
everyone burn inside of here.
Right. Well, it's supposed to like hold the fire back for at least an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Definitely.
So,
So,
don't worry.
so money well spent, basically
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Well,
That's
it
cool.
was a decision point where like, shit, do we spend this money? And well, yeah, that's a huge part of it. If you don't, you might as well be,
Yeah.
I don't know, sitting in your house and drinking beer and
Yeah.
looking at pictures of the brewery.
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, not really, but just to know that you're connected to this space where the beer is
Yeah.
made is important.
yeah.
So
So I want to get into, I guess, tours. Like you guys give tours,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. And then like what? So what is the specialty of this brewery?
Yeah, the tours, we started from the very beginning, and again, it was kind of looking at other breweries that we admired and business models, places we had visited where they gave us a nice tour of the brew house and their operations. And we always appreciated that. Uh, another another reason that we wanted to implement tours, and this ties in with kind of what our specialty is here, is that we really wanted to focus on educating customers and helping to build this community of beer in LA. So, you know, it, at that time, people would kind of joke about how LA was this beer wasteland. Like San Diego was great; there was tons of breweries, and San Francisco was great too. But this black hole of beer, as people referred to it, in between was LA, and so we knew that there was a lot of potential here, and so we just said, hey, we want to. For me, it was like I live here, and I want to make this is my hometown now, and I want to kind of help build this and make it something that we're all proud of. And had a lot of friends that were home brewers that were lamenting about the fact that there wasn't a good beer culture in LA.
Yeah.
So that was a big reason to implement tours, and like I said, that's kind of been part of our focus from the very beginning was educating consumers and focusing in on helping to build that community. So when we started out, we were only making 3 beers. Solidarity, which is a black mild, it's 3.8% alcohol, really dark in color but really light in body and flavor. And then Revolution, which is a pale ale, light hop accented, but not over the top, not like knock your face off, level of hopping.
Yeah.
And then a Belgian style wit beer. And then the reason we chose those 3 styles is that we wanted to kind of break it down into like flavor categories and base those on the ingredients. So, 4 basic ingredients in beer: water, malt, hops, yeast. So, excluding water from that, we wanted to have those 3 main ingredients represented in 3 different beers.
Yeah.
So, a malt accented beer being Solidarity, a hop accented beer being Revolution, and a yeast accented beer being Manifesto, like more Belgian yeast character.
Cool.
And then that way we could help educate people by saying, like, we give them a flight of beer and they say, I like this one a lot. I like this Manifesto, this Belgian-y thing, but I don't like the others. It's like, okay, now we have a starting point to be able to talk to this person, help educate them, say, well, here's other beers that you might like. If you're going out to dinner, friend's house, you pick up a bottle of something, try these types of beers. Conversely, if it was like, hey, I like this slightly hoppy one, then we could kind of go from there and say,
That's cool.
and then, you earn people's trust that way, where they go, hey, these people really know what they're listening to me. They know what I'm talking about, and they made some good recommendations. So you open up that conversation, and
I'm looking at your roster now. You got quite a few. You got quite a few beers on tap.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember in the first year, it was probably about a year in until we were able to, I think it was more than a year, that we were able to fill up all 8 taps with our own beers. It was it was like 3 of our own and then 5 guest beers.
Yeah.
And it was
Cool.
like,
And you
Like
just
the
choose.
homie beers though? Like homie beers?
yeah, I mean, other breweries that we looked up to, and so
That's
one of
cool.
the first beers we served here as a guest beer was from Alesmith Brewing Company, and that's actually where our equipment came from.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
They were upgrading their brew house,
Yeah.
and so we bought their original equipment, which is a bunch of old dairy tanks that were converted into a brewing use.
That's
Yeah.
rad.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so we bought those, and so of course, we've always looked up to them as a good example of what a brewery should be, and even before we bought their equipment, it was that way. We're like, we really liked their beers, and we liked the people that were behind that business. So
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, man.
That's so cool.
I want to go back to this, to the LA culture, the black hole that you were talking about, because like that's kind of, I mean, besides obvious things like us wanting to try all of LA's beers, that's kind of like what we started this for. Was like to try to see if we can build a small community that knows about all the LA beers. Like that's why we've been reaching out to people, you guys included, but because we wanted to, you know, like a lot of our friends don't know about the smaller brews around town, and like we're like, it's not hard to find. Like, you know, you can hit a Google search and find them all.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not try to reach out to everybody and start something that people can. I mean, in theory, like someone that goes to each brewery would listen to this and maybe figure out the other breweries around town and they could try stuff out.
Right.
You know, kind of like a big family, but like, you know, in
Exactly.
sections.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's kind of cool that that's the way you guys thought about it at first.
Yeah. I think it's great that you guys have that as part of your focus too, because, I mean, I think you know, whatever endeavor it is, I feel like you have to have a core focus like that. That's, you know, for us, it's not just making good beer. You know, we have to focus on other aspects because, you know, of course it's about the beer, but you know, beer is also something that we do while we're doing other things in our life. Like
Of course.
it's a part of the bigger picture of things, and so, you know, I feel like you really have to have that focus on another aspect, and then, you know, you bring in what it is that your craft is. You bring it in to that, so it's not just focusing on that craft and only that, you know, because it fits into the bigger picture in your own life, but also in the community aspect too.
Yeah,
So
sure. And I think it's like really important now because like craft brewery is getting popular, and as you were saying, like LA is kind of getting left behind with I guess the public because they don't know, because all they know is San Diego and what they're doing, and I think there's like
I think we
it's
picked
cool
up
to-
on a good time. Like we've probably been doing this close to 2 years now, and we've seen, personally, we've seen new places pop up, and
there's a lot.
like yeah, like randomly Drew was downtown one day and ran into somebody that had happened to listen to us one time, and said that their friend was starting a brewery out in like
Montebello.
yeah, Montebello.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, cool. Like, what's up with it? And then that dude was like, you should talk to this guy. And we're like, okay. And like, I think that might be one of our next stops eventually,
Cool.
because they're eventually going to be up. But as Angry Horse is them.
Yeah.
Oh, I know those guys.
You guys know
Yeah.
those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they invited us out a while ago before they started building, which is kind of odd, but.
What?
It's cool though to also to see it at that stage. I mean, we had a bunch of people come in here when we, you know, we hadn't built anything out yet, and we just had some tanks sitting in a weird warehouse down this weird street, and it was like, you know, what's going on over here? But yeah, it's kind of cool to see it in that stage, because later on, you know, when it's finished and they're part of this, you know, they're making beers and part of this community, then you're gonna like be like, hey, we knew, we saw, we remember what it was like.
Yeah. So like, yeah, for you, it's like you said 7 years around.
Yeah, a little over now.
So like, do you feel like at this point like a vet, or do you still feel like a rookie? Like, do you think that like what's your mindset now as opposed to?
Yeah. It's I mean, I feel like a vet in some ways, but in other ways I feel like a total newbie.
I think that your idea of like creating the community and getting people like to understand what they're drinking and stuff, I think you were way ahead of your time with that. Like, not ahead of your time, but like when you started it, that was a good way to get your brewery going, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that we kind of had you know, a steep curve ahead of us as far as you know, getting new customers and reaching out to people and kind of convincing people, hey, beer can be different than you think it is. Beer can be really complex and good and interesting. And,
Yeah.
um,
100%.
you know, one of the most common statements that we heard in here in the tap room when we first opened was, oh, I don't really like beer. I just came with my friend because they want to check it out. You know, I'm a
That's
wine
weird.
drinker. Yeah. But we'd go, okay, what do you like to drink? You know, just talking to people. We'd find out, oh, you know, I like wines, I like this, I like that. Okay, hey, try this. Just take a little, you know, taste
yeah.
this on me, just see what you think. Oh, wow, what is that? It's like, oh, that's our black mild, that's Solidarity. Oh, this doesn't taste like beer. Like
Yeah.
that idea that this doesn't taste like beer, because so many people had this preconceived notion of beer that was like, you know, I mean,
Tastes
this,
like piss.
it's like, yeah, this Bud Miller Coors thing, like the
Yeah.
industrial light lagers
Yeah.
Yeah.
that dominated. I mean, now of course it's you can't really say that because those companies make a lot of different beers too. But
Right.
the it was, you know, that the industrial light lager was the dominant beer style in the world
Yeah.
at that time. Just you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so people, when you said beer, that's what came into
Thought of.
people's head was, you know, a fizzy yellow lager, you know, and some people loved it, some people hated it, but that's what it meant. And so when you give somebody a glass of something that's dark and lower in alcohol and, you know, just has a different body, or, you know, or you give somebody, you know, a glass of like a oatmeal stout or something like that.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Oh,
crazy, what's
whoa.
going on? Or
It's
like an
aftertaste.
IPA. People were suddenly like minds were getting blown and light bulbs were going off of people saying, oh, this is beer. This is what beer can be.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I think
That's cool.
it was that was, you know, a goal accomplished in that sense.
Yeah.
That's rad. I mean,
I mean, to answer your question though, I feel like the part where I feel like a bit of a newbie is just the way that things are expanding so quickly now.
Yeah.
Not just breweries opening, but new people getting into beer and what, you know, how the market is going. Like I feel like I don't know the market. Like I used to feel like I had a good pulse on it, but you know, we were having this conversation, our whole team was earlier today, about how it's sometimes frustrating to make a really nice balanced beer that's nuanced and subtle, but it doesn't do anything in the marketplace because a lot of people right now just want beers that are kind of novelty beers in a way, like, you know, crazy additions, like fruit additions or spices, or
We even
crazy strong or crazy hoppy or juicy, hazy, like
Yeah.
these kind of weird extremes of flavor that, and it's, you know, I'm not saying good or bad either way. I'm just saying that it's getting people into beer, and that's good in a sense, but for people to really, it seems like the potentially bad side is that it seems like a lot of people are writing off these balanced, nuanced, nice beers because they're not, you know, they don't have, you know, pineapple guava juice mixed into them or something like that, which,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, not good or bad. Like maybe that pineapple guava juice beer is good,
everything's grapefruit.
Yeah.
but it
Yeah, I
doesn't
feel
mean
you.
other beers are not.
Yeah.
And those I feel like can be easily overlooked right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
I got a question for you actually.
What?
Speaking of, once you have your good beer, you've made the kind of beers you want. The next thing to do, like you said, is like marketing, getting people to come taste it, try it.
yeah.
This might be good for you to hear. What do you think would bring you to a brewery? Like events, like some kind of like tasting.
to me?
Yeah.
No.
Because like I think,
For me personally, Yeah, probably something like that. I mean, I know where you're going with this, but yeah, some like everywhere we go, I like if we're just chilling or whatever.
Mhm.
I like trying somebody's flight, and I don't want to know what they are. But, like I don't want to pick them. I want to pick any beer. I just
Yeah.
want you give me what you think, you know, what you like, and even if I don't particularly dig it too much, some of them I'll just be like, yeah, this is cool. This is not for me, just like you're saying.
Sure.
But yeah, I think tasting events like what we've seen a little bit recently is like a couple breweries having like, oh, this is our new thing. We're having a tasting event for this particular beer. Maybe there's like a happy hour for like literally 1 hour, and like you can get like a pint or a
Uh-huh.
taster or something. And if you dig it, then you pay for the next one, obviously. But I think that's pretty cool. And I think if you can have like a network, even if it's just like a Facebook page or something like that, that'll bring people in and like try something out.
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
I feel like the tasting event, especially with new stuff, is like
Uh-huh.
really cool for me because like I want to be able to try something that's just coming out, like,
Mhm.
and then obviously like discounts,
Well, yeah,
like
but I mean, it's
they like draw mass people,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like the
yeah.
particular people want to know like that,
Well,
the
people
new
love to
stuff
be
in it.
on top of the new shit, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We talk about we often get into video game talk a lot on this, and recently we've been talking about how Nintendo's new console comes out in like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. I
So-
think I've.
The Switch.
Switch?
They had a Super Bowl
Yeah,
commercial.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, the
Okay.
thing where you pop it, it looks like an iPad. Anyway, an iPad with controllers on it. Anyway, we've been talking about that for a year because they've been teasing it or whatever. But it's one of those things where I saw there's no pre-sales allowed anymore. They're all sold out.
Okay.
They've been sold out for like 2 weeks, right? But I saw on eBay the other day one going for like a G. I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is ridiculous.
they're selling a pre-sale.
Yeah, like, oh. And the thing is, I was thinking about it. I was like, you're not getting that day one. You're not going to be the person that plays it on day one because they're going to have to get it and then send it to you.
I mean, is it? Yeah. So I totally understand what you're saying and also how that ties into the beer thing too. But so how important is it? I guess how important is it for you to have that console on day one and play it before anybody else? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is it
I
that
don't
important?
know. I don't think so, but I think
It's a
you feel
mindset of-
included, you know?
Yeah, it's a mindset of the masses. Like everybody, that's why everyone like waits outside of Apple for the new iPhone.
Yeah.
Because they want
Right.
to get it first to
They're
like try it or
oh
whatever.
man, it's got a new emoji. And
Yeah.
that's-
So
Yeah.
I mean, culture is stupid in that way, but I guess I do it for things that I really like. Obviously, like beer.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to go back to this, like tasting events, you get to try the new thing that maybe isn't even available to like bring away from that brewery at the time. You know,
Sure.
Yeah.
Like you can only taste it there, and you can't even get a growler fill or anything like that.
I mean, that is right now a big part of what's happening in the market and in the community. Is there's especially when it comes to IPAs, because people are going bananas over IPAs now. It's like they've discovered a brand new style or something. I mean, I only sort of joke about it because there are a lot of new people coming into the world of beer, and they're like, "Oh my God, these IPAs, I love them," and they're legitimately excited,
Yeah.
and they want, they're willing to do anything to get the new
The new
IPA before
IPA.
anybody else does. So, people wait in line for hours to get a 4-pack of some new IPA or
Yeah.
double IPA and pay top dollar for it. And then I think part of the draw is not only getting it and tasting it,
Yeah.
but, mailing off some of it to your friends on the East Coast, and they're going to ship you back some heady topper, and that's like,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's like this kind of video game aspect comes into it, where it's like, you know, you're almost playing a game. It's like you got to get your Untapped and Rate Beer check-ins,
Yeah.
you know, every single beer ever made. You need to check those
Collect
in.
them all.
And yeah,
Oh,
it's like
man.
the Pokemon thing almost. Pokemon beer, like,
Yes.
And
Best comparison.
yeah, it's
What do you want me to grab from him?
actually, yeah, I think the next beer will be barrel-aged Unionist. So you can see this, we had the base beer now.
Okay.
You can see a version that's been aging in a barrel with Brettanomyces added. So
Nice. Well, that's dope. So, when Drew gets back, I want to talk about some of the events you guys got going on.
oh yeah, cool.
So, I mean, we can start right now, but I guess we can go straight into the video games thing. For Valentine's Day is coming up. By the time you hear this, it'll be 2 days away, so, you know, head over here. But it's called Red Velvet and Video Games.
Yeah, so we're releasing a beer that we've made since 2010 called Red Velvet, and that's an Imperial Red Ale with rye.
Oh, nice.
So that was originally a home brewer won a competition, and we committed to brew the winner of that competition as our Pro-Am beer and enter that into the Great American Beer Festival.
Oh, cool.
That year, it actually won a gold medal in that category,
Oh, shit.
the Pro-Am category.
That's amazing.
And so it was pretty awesome. Like, we were blown away. Our first year ever in, you know, being a brewery and entering GABF.
yeah.
And so, and you know, also kudos to the homebrewer Donnie
Yeah.
Hummel who came up with that recipe and brewed it.
That's
and then
rad.
brewed it with us. So, anyways, that beer is you know, the name, as it implies, it's very smooth. The rye contributes a lot of sort of a silky texture, a lot of like body and smoothness to that body.
Nice.
It's an 11% beer, so you know, aphrodisiac, a little like
Ooh.
gets you a little swervy and
Yeah.
This one?
sexy time.
This one we're drinking?
No,
Sorry.
I was like,
Oh,
we
we
tried to
skipped
skip
ahead. You were gone, so we skipped ahead without you.
We're talking about
Well-
Red Velvet and Video Games. Their event coming up.
Okay.
Real nice. He was all getting all.
I was like,
hot
hold
and
on,
heavy
wait a
over
minute.
here.
And so that one, and it's a very hoppy Imperial Red Ale. So anyways, we're releasing that again this year, and we're putting it in cans for the first time,
Oh, cool.
which is exciting. And so on Valentine's Day, we figured, you know, it's hard for us as a brewery. It's hard to compete with all the restaurants that are doing romantic beer dinners and such. And so we thought, well, we'll do like we'll do a, you know, we'll just go the other direction with it. We'll go anti-romantic.
Yeah.
And instead of being romantic and beer dinner vibes, we'll just do like, hey, video games and
Yeah.
no friendo, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have a tournament. We're gonna do like brackets,
That's cool.
and have it's gonna be classic Street Fighter, the like Street Fighter 2.
So psyched about that. That's so
Yeah.
rad.
Dope.
So
That's
yeah,
so
it's just
rad.
be a fun day, and then we're releasing Red Velvet on that day.
I think we need to have a double date.
Cheers,
think
guys.
so.
Here's
Yeah.
the
Cheers.
next beer.
This is very tasty.
I
So-
think my wife would love this.
You can, you know,
Don't you
right
think-
away you see the similarities. It looks very similar
Yeah,
to the
but-
to the Unionist, the base beer, but you know, aroma-wise, it's a lot more complex. This series of beers is something we started last year. We're calling it our Woodwork Projects, and the idea is these beers are all basically like one-offs, individual beers that are kind of a study in the effects of wood and time
This is awesome.
on beer. So you put beer into wood, right away it's gonna start changing. It's gonna oxidize slightly. The wood is permeable to gas, but
Yeah.
very slowly. So, you know, over time, oxygen starts to get in and start to change the beer slightly. the wood, some of the tannins and vanillins and other properties that are in the wood um, can infuse into the beer. Um, if there's in the case of this, we've pitched a different culture of yeast, Brettanomyces, and that adds another level of complexity. That Brettanomyces uses the oxygen that's slowly infusing through the wood to metabolize some of the sugars that are left in the finished beer, so
that's
like in
cool.
the base beer, and then as it's metabolizing those, it's creating, interesting flavor compounds. It's creating a little bit more alcohol, a little bit more CO2. But the main thing is like those fun, interesting flavor
Yeah.
compounds.
This is awesome.
That's awesome.
So it's like a beer transformed kind of.
I don't think I've ever had anything like this.
It's like, hold on.
I feel like it smells like
It's like the wine of
it
beers.
smells like a wine. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
The wine of beers.
So this is aged in red wine barrels, and so you might actually be picking up some of the residual, wine that was soaked into the wood.
Yeah.
You might be picking up some of that flavor.
Yeah.
Is it a certain wine? Like, did you have to buy the barrels from like a winery or?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. We can get Lee over here to answer. He's our barrel master.
Okay. These have different numbers on them too, like wood 0002. Are
Yeah.
they like, so they're all different wine
Because
barrels, right?
they're a one-off. This is a one-off. Like each one of these beers in this series is a one-off.
Yeah.
So the first beer we produced in this series was called Jägermeister. It was a sour blonde ale with pluots and mangoes.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
And so that was Wood 001. This one, Barrel Aged Unionist, is the second one. The third one we did is called Cerveza Frambuesa. It's a blend of sour blonde and red ales with raspberries added.
Jesus.
So, just fun
Yeah.
experiments,
Mm-hmm.
but, really interesting, nuanced beers.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's very awesome.
thank you.
That is.
It's a nice
That might be one of-
comparison, too, to see that side by side with the
Yeah,
the
definitely.
first, the base
definitely,
beer.
Definitely.
They're different beers, but
Yeah.
I mean,
you can
have
kind of see the threads.
yeah. I
that
mean, you have them
attach them.
both. Let's hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So this is the one we're having right now, in the wine barrels one. This is the one we just had,
The base beer, right?
the base beer.
That's what we have.
Yeah, he has both.
I got a little bit of the bottle bottoms, I think, so mine got a little cloudy in that, but it's
Yeah,
fine.
Still.
That's
Oh,
cool.
man. They're really good.
Thank you. Yeah,
Seriously.
Brettanomyces is a very fun yeast to play with. It can be very unpredictable and very slow to work in a lot of cases. But the flavors it can produce are really interesting, and they go beyond what your typical brewing yeast what flavors your typical brewing yeast will produce. It tends to be the flavor profile from Brettanomyces can be anywhere from like tart to very fruity, very earthy, kind of like clovey, spicy, slightly smoky. It's really interesting. Some people describe the flavor of Brettanomyces or certain types of Brettanomyces as like horse blanket or farmy, and I don't know. I mean, there's definitely organic acids that are in that family of flavors and aromas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing too, just a quick thing about this beer.
Yeah.
As it warms up, it's gonna kind of open up a little more, get more complex.
Oh, so I should let it chill for. Well,
Yeah.
not chill
I
for
mean,
a sec.
Up to you guys.
It's very tasty.
Once it's in your glass, you can do whatever you want. With it, so.
Love it, love it. So, we were looking at your website,
Mhm.
and you have a thing on there called the Women's Beer Forum.
Yeah.
We thought that was really cool. We read a little bit about it. So it sounds like it's a place where, well, you come here, tap room, for women to drink around women, so they don't feel like pressured by guys or whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah. So my wife started it, and it's now she's about to celebrate, in March, she will celebrate 6 years of the Women's Beer Forum,
Nice.
which is kind of
Nice.
incredible. I mean, she's been doing it every month for 6 years. with the exception of 1 month she took off because she gave birth to our son. So
Well,
it's kind of incredible.
excusable, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really is, and I think without exception, she has not repeated any topics, which is cool. So the reason that she started it was, like you mentioned, like the men pressuring women about what they don't.
Yeah.
They think a woman is gonna like or not like. So Ting, my wife, yeah, she was a little bit tired of going up to a bar, asking the bartender, "Hey, what beers do you have on tap?" And he would say, "Oh, we've got this and this. You'll really like this, raspberry wheat beer we have." And she's like, "No, I won't. Why do you think that? Just because I'm a woman? Like, never mind. Give me a Scotch neat, like."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's something that I think as men we don't think about that much because we're not faced with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, but it's definitely a very real thing. And then the other aspect that she noticed, and it was bugging her, so kind of an impetus to start this was when we started up, all of us, all hands on deck. So we'd be behind the bar, Ting would be behind the bar, and a couple would come in, and they'd be looking at the menu, trying to decide, and the guy would be like, "Oh, you're gonna like that wit beer. Like, I'll get you she'll have the wit beer," and then no word from the woman whether confirmation of that order or
Yeah.
and Ting always was annoyed by that. So yeah, she started the women's forum, and the first time she did it, she thought, I don't know, maybe 20 women will show up. I don't know, like, who knows? And so we were talking about just taking up a corner of the tap room, but the more we talked about that, we thought, like, we don't want it to turn into like a ladies' night and have dudes show up and be like, "Hey, ladies, what's going on?
Yeah.
Check out my beer knowledge," like. No, like, that's not totally not the point.
Not the point.
So we said, all right, we're gonna do it in the brew house, and like, you have to be a woman and be paying for the forum, and they have like these name tags, like that's how you get in.
Oh, right,
Cool.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys aren't allowed back there unless it's a brewer that's presenting a flight of beers.
Yeah.
So basically that's it. Ting will select a topic. She'll create a flight of beers based around that topic. Sometimes it involves another brewer, another brewery. Sometimes it involves like a food pairing aspect.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
But it rarely involves all, or sometimes, I should say it rarely includes our beers. There's occasions where she'll have like one or maybe two of our beers in the flight, but
Nice.
Oh, that's
it's not
cool.
like, "Hey, check out Eagle Rock's beers." It's like, it's more about advancing the community and saying, "Hey,
That's
there's
cool.
a lot of other breweries."
That's really rad.
And it seems like that this whole thing is like a whole like family-oriented establishment. You said you started with your dad. You got your wife involved. Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's me and my wife and my dad are the three like business partners here, three owners, as it were.
Yeah.
And our team is pretty small. It's 7 people that do everything,
Nice.
not including us 3.
Oh, wow.
So 10 if you include all of us. But yeah, it's a lot. Everybody on our team wears a lot of hats, and yeah, it's so you see the paintings up there on the wall. That's pretty much like the founding crew. So me and my dad and my wife are up on the top row. And then the bottom row, Lee and Eric Lee's in the middle.
Yeah.
Eric is on
Lee
the
over
right.
there? Is that
Yeah,
Lee?
that's Lee
Okay.
over there with the hat, and the same mustache. You can't
Ross
mistake
wants to
that.
look at
And then the guy on the left, on the bottom, is Lee's brother Andrew, who was with us from the beginning and was with us up until just under 2 years ago, and then he moved to Florida with his wife. They were pregnant, and her family's in Florida, so it was like,
Yeah, it makes sense.
it was, it's like, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
got to do that. But still helps us out on projects from time to time.
That's dope.
And,
Yeah. My question off the record was gonna be, where did you get these dope ass paintings, and how can I get one? Cause
And
that's cool.
can we
So,
Instagram one?
one of our
later?
customers actually.
Really?
Customers?
Yeah.
But
That's dope.
Yeah.
One of
Hold
you
on.
on a
I got-
barrel
You
deck?
can. I
gonna go
have her
turn the
contact
video
info
around.
if you want to get a hold of her. I'm sure she could give you.
That's
a quote
rad,
for,
man. That's super rad. We're definitely gonna we're gonna throw some Instagrams and whatnot. People, we've been like teasing that we're gonna come here,
Cool.
and I don't think I don't think we even told anybody that we were. I think we're going to like after.
That's
and
cool.
we're like, hey, we were just here.
It's funny now. People look at those paintings and they're like, "So which one is you?" Because
I was gonna
now
ask.
it's like me and Lee switched hairstyles pretty much.
yeah,
yeah.
I was like,
She cut it off, and you grew it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your dad is super happy in that painting though.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
He loves beer.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
I'm
happy.
loving the
He's
sweat
a happy
cups too.
dude.
Yeah, you don't get
Those are
sweat.
dope.
You don't get sweat on your hands when
Dude's
you drink a
ready
beer.
for it.
We have those. One of our first full-time employee. So I'll go back a little bit, and so Lee and Andrew, his brother Andrew, and then Eric came in when we were getting started. Before we were even open, they came in, or I'd see them at like homebrew club meetings, and I was doing a blog to document the startup process and just kind of also as a reminder. So when I got really depressed, I could look back and go, "Oh, I have accomplished a lot."
Yeah, yeah.
So they were checking out the blog, and it was like, "Hey, this sounds cool. I'd like to check it out and maybe be part of it and just help out in any way."
Yeah.
So the three of those guys started just volunteering here, and yeah, it was great because we were so overwhelmed doing
Yeah.
everything. It's like, great, these guys can help. They were helping to pour beers in the tap room. They were helping around the brew house, and they also were hoping to learn more about brewing because those guys were all homebrewers as well first, and so yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we all kind of learned together. I mean, it was like this was the first professional brewing experience on the big scale. So for any of us, so.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
So, but our first full-time employee, those guys were still volunteering, and then our first full-time employee was a guy that came from Harpoon Brewing,
Oh, rad.
and his
cool.
girlfriend had moved out here for a job, so he came out here with her, and the job that he had lined up, the brewing job that he had lined up, fell through. So, on his visit before he moved out here, he came in, met him, liked his beers, or he liked our beers a lot, and said, "Well, I'm going to be working here at this brewery, but it'll be cool it's nice to meet you, and it'll be cool to hang out and know a fellow brewer."
Yeah,
So then he called me like 2 weeks before he was going to move out. He's like, "Hey man, that job fell through, but I'm still moving to LA. Any chance you need help?" And at that moment in time, I was like, hell yes, I'm so overwhelmed. I need help. And I was excited too because I was like, wow, this guy is a professional brewer. I didn't consider myself a professional brewer, even though I was technically, but I didn't really have. I was always like, am I doing this right? Like, I don't know.
I get you. Yeah.
So, anyways, he came out. It worked out great. He was our first full-time employee. His name's Pat Chowder because he's from the East Coast. He's a Mainer, so we call him Chowder.
That's funny.
And he asked if we could get those sweatbands because when we first started, we didn't have any air conditioning in the brew house, and it was brutally hot.
Dang.
So we got those made up and embroidered with our
dope.
logo. And
That's super dope.
yeah.
Cool.
Man.
I know, I can tell stories for days.
No, they're good though. They're good.
No.
What part of New York are you from?
I grew up in Rochester, New York.
Oh shit, on Long Island?
No, it's up near.
Like
it's
upstate?
western. Yeah,
Okay.
Western New York,
That's what I meant.
near.
You know where
Rochester.
you from Long Island?
I know. That's,
That's what he
asked.
wanted to say. He wanted to say, "Oh, I'm from Long Island."
I
but-
did want to
That's
say it, but I don't know.
But it's actually check this out.
Regardless.
So Pat Chowder,
Yeah.
moved back. He left us to move back to the East Coast because his not then fiance, now wife, got an even better job back in New York.
Oh, right.
She works in the music industry doing like publicity and works with artists.
Cool.
So he's like, we can't turn down this, and
Yeah.
I can probably get a job out there. So he did. He started working for some breweries in New York, and then after, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year after being out there, some other friends approached him about starting their own brewery, and he's like, yeah, I'm in. So they started up Flagship Brewing, which is on Staten Island, the first brewery on Staten Island.
Really? Well, that's cool.
And or at least since Prohibition, I guess. I don't know if there was one before. But anyways, we did a collaboration beer with them last year. It was it's called a coastally neutral IPA. We called it called Not Your Bro Dog.
That's,
Not Your Bro Dog.
that's funny.
And so yeah, it was a fun beer. We flew out there and brewed it on their system, and then he came out here and brewed it on our system. And
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
the cross-coastal collaborative release. So
That's
it
dope.
was fun.
Man. So I wanted to ask you. I mean, we talked about video games a little bit earlier, but did this video game Valentine's Day thing start from you being a gamer at all, or
It was actually, this one came up from Chelsea, who's our taproom manager and PR marketing
Yeah,
manager.
shout out to Chelsea.
Shouts out to Chelsea.
Yeah, she
Help us schedule this
she
thing.
was like, hey, what if we did, this for Valentine's Day? Because we were thinking about brainstorming events and just
Yeah.
thinking about what to do. So yeah, she was
That's rad.
credit
That's
to
rad.
her. Yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, this is like an odd. We've been to places where they have like video game things that happen, but it's
Well, we're-
really rad to have it at a brewery. That's really cool.
Yeah, we've seen like barcades are getting popular now.
Arcade.
So we were laughing. We were like, oh, now it's a brewcade.
Yeah.
That's a brewery arcade.
Well, we've done, we do trivia nights here regularly. We've done D&D nights here.
Oh man.
It's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, just
Get
like,
real deep.
Just get into it.
I mean, when you're a nerd, you're a nerd, right?
There's a
Through and
place-
through.
Oh
like,
yeah.
There's
It
a
is
place
very
up
We're all
the
nerds,
street.
so.
There's a place up the street from his apartment that it gets so deep on some D&D.
Well, I live next to Game Empire, which is like
this
basically
this
just
place, and we
Okay,
don't
yeah.
we don't
A whole-
do that, but it was like every, I don't know what day it is. They
Oh.
go in.
But-
Like it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
100 deep in
But-
that place.
What's funny that you mentioned D&D is we have a friend in San Diego who is a part of a meadery, not
Sure,
a brewery, a
yeah.
meadery, and they all play D&D like
Oh,
just
yeah.
during the.
We used to do, so about 2 years ago, my wife and I partnered with her brother, who's a chef, and we opened a restaurant. So it's Eagle Rock Brewery Public House. So that's about 4 miles from here.
You
But before then, when we had more time on our hands,
Yeah.
we used to play like group D&D. Like it was like our crew would get together and play D&D.
Huh?
Oh,
And
rad.
we each, we had our own characters. And
Oh, yeah.
And our one of our brewers here is he was the dungeon master because
Nice. Of
course.
the most
Of
experienced,
course.
and he had all the books. And
Makes sense.
so it was a lot of fun.
That's rad, man.
That's
in
cool.
fact, if you go back into the brew house by our 3-compartment sink, there's a big whisk, and it's for mixing in like our kettle findings, like our Whirlflock.
Okay.
Before you dump it into the kettle.
yeah.
And it's somebody put a P-Touch sticker that says +1 Masterwork Whisk. So it's like, it's pretty deep nerddom
That's
around
amazing.
here.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's easily the coolest thing I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
we nerd out quite a bit on this podcast. You more than I do.
Well-
You love to nerd out.
The thing is that I just like to be informed, and it just comes out real nerdy though.
Yeah,
That's-
because he loves video games.
Nothing
Well,
wrong with being a
it's-
nerd.
It's not even
I
just
know.
that. It's like between video games, skateboarding, and this. And we actually, I was gonna ask you about film production too in a sec, but that's what we do. Like he's about
Yeah.
to go film the Grammys on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Which I was gonna mention. If you guys give me a shirt, I'll put it under my suit and take a selfie with it.
Oh, all right.
And I'll be like, Eagle Rock represent. If you want.
yeah, but fuck, where is it going? I don't.
Nerd. You were nerding. You
Yeah,
were talking
hardcore.
about
Obviously,
nerding.
they just blanked out.
Film production.
Yeah, yeah.
and,
So what
like,
did you do when you were in production?
So my so when I was still in school, I went to school in Florida at Full Sail Center for the
Oh
Recording
shit!
Arts.
Really, dude, the real deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was
Okay.
my career for. So I went
Yeah,
there
man.
right out of high school. Went there for audio production, but
Okay.
then I learned about post production for film and video, and I thought that sounds really cool. I want to do that instead. So finished that program. Stayed on a little extra to do some video production programs there as well, and then moved to LA. Just like anyone, started as a grunt, as a driver.
Yep.
At a company called Sound Deluxe, and that was basically like an audio post production facility. So yeah, I did that. Drove for them for a little while. Wanted to get into the editing side of things, but my path had to go through the accounting department.
Yeah.
So I went and worked in the accounting department for like 6 or 9 months, and then finally got an opening to assist somebody doing sound effects librarian work, and then kind of went through a few changes, and then ended up doing music editing. So that's where I kind of
dope.
focused, because I played music all through high school, and then that was really where my interest and passion was. So yeah, I did music editing for probably about 10 years, I think it was.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's super
Yeah.
rad.
Yeah, I got roped into the Grammys, I guess, a year or so ago, and I just been like doing documentary work for them and stuff. Like last night, I was at the P&E wing, like they were honoring Jack White, and it's like basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was like really, it was awesome, and there's a bunch of people there, and like, we try to tell stories about people in the industry that don't get recognized,
Yeah, yep.
and why why are the celebrities of the industry getting more money than they are when they're the ones that are doing stuff like things like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're trying to expose a little bit more. Like, I mean, people think of the Grammys, they think the award show.
Right.
But it's a foundation. They're trying to like promote, music and the people that
production
work
of
on it.
music,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's
really-
something that, like, unless you're a music nerd, you generally don't know about producers or engineers
Exactly,
or
Right.
any of that side of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, production for me. I mean, recently I've been production managing a lot.
Mhm.
So like a lot of field work, a lot
Yep.
of office work. But I don't know. Today's been actually a really rad day for me.
Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Go ahead.
Before we get into our last topic, all right. So obviously this is happening. So this is rad. But also, me and Drew, to end this season, I'm moving to Nashville in July.
Okay.
So, because
Cool.
we have family in Memphis, and me and my wife aren't getting any younger. Probably can't afford to have kids out here and do that whole thing, like whatever.
Yeah.
But so we were thinking about there, and then so we're gonna move there, and I don't know where's that going with this. Oh yeah, so best day. So we're gonna film this
Best
video
day.
part, this skateboarding. So that's kind of how me and Drew became friends through skateboarding.
Okay.
So we're gonna film a joint part to kind of cap this season of the podcast. And I guess we actually haven't talked about this before on the show.
What, filming the part?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a surprise. Fuck, I just ruined it.
Oh,
How's
man.
it a
Oh,
surprise?
Totally ruined.
Anyway, so that happened, and I got kind of hired to do another job today, and this is happening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers to a
It's been
good day.
Solid day. Yes.
There you go.
Oh man.
Oh,
you don't
I
have a
know.
beer?
I'm
Oh.
fucking up. Here, let me drink your water. There we go. That'll work.
Cheers to water.
All right. Well,
Water.
I guess we'll allow a water cheers
Yeah, yeah.
on this one
Yeah.
case.
But anyways, what's the third beer that you would like us to try?
Well, I was thinking maybe we'll do a couple small tasters.
Dope. Kind of
So we can do one of our sours,
All right.
Tart Noir, and then La Suerte, which is our 7-year anniversary beer.
Cool.
So we'll do a couple tasters of that.
Beautifully dark beers
Yeah,
in front of
so-
us.
Very excited about this.
Which ones are which?
So we're gonna start with the one in your left hand, which is Tart Noir.
Tart Noir.
Ooh.
And that is a sour black beer.
Sour black. I don't think I've ever had a sour
Cheers,
black
this one?
beer.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Have you ever had sour black beer?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh wow.
Oh, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, and it's a low ABV beer too. It's 4.9.
Really?
So yeah, like you get
Candy.
a little bit. Yeah, it is kind of candy-like or a little bit fruity, tart.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of that like, roast kind of character in there. Maybe
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a little dark chocolate or coffee hint, but that's not the main flavor component. It shifts from that pretty quickly through to like a little bit of like kind of like a lemon candy sort of
Yeah, for sure.
I get that. Yeah.
flavor.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
That's
then just like
good,
a
man.
clean finish, light body, just kind of easy drinking,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not like doesn't feel too filling. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice,
Um,
man.
So yeah, this is one of our. We have 3 like core sour beers. So these are beers that we produce kind of year round. Like we're always producing these 3 different beers.
Cool.
Well, this one, Tart Noir, sour black beer. Equinox, a sour blonde ale, and then Yearling, which is a sour red ale.
Okay.
And we're always making those, and generally we're releasing at least one of those 3 is being released about every 2 months, 2 to 3 months. So at any point throughout the year, you should be able to get at least one sour beer from us at any
Nice.
time if you're here.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get more than one option. So
This is cool. I don't usually like sour beers, honestly. Most of the time, but this is like. I feel like I could drink a few of these. Like I feel like after most sour beers I've had in the past, I drink one and I'm like, I'm good. Like,
yeah, I mean, one of the, as far as we talked a little bit about who we are as a brewery and like our identity or like more about our philosophy, but
yeah,
as far as like beers, as a brewery, we are more about balanced beers. So obviously, a sour beer, it's out of balance in a way because you have this acidity, this kind of tartness to it. But like using the scope of balance as you look at the beer, the idea being that if there's some tartness there, that needs to be balanced out. It can't just be all tart. It can't be overwhelming.
yeah.
It can't be like to the point where it's giving you a stomach ache, or
Yeah.
your teeth are like getting cavities.
Yeah.
You're
While
watching
you're
yourself get
drinking it.
cavities.
Yeah.
So just that idea of balance, and
Nice.
if it's a
Nice.
really strong beer, we still have to balance all the components so that it's enjoyable to drink.
yeah.
Because at the
definitely.
end of the day, that's the idea. You
Yeah,
gotta have
exactly.
an enjoyable experience with it.
So we're gonna get into our last topic, and before you answer, we're gonna talk about this beer, the one on the right.
Okay.
We're gonna call it for that. It's gonna be mysterious for a few minutes. So our last topic is always the little things.
The little thing.
And,
You need like some little tag music, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, we should have little jingles for certain things that we do.
We should.
Because we end up doing some regular shit
Yeah.
on the show.
That's true. True story. Do you want us? Did you think of yours yet?
Nope. But you got yours.
I do have mine. So mine is when you text somebody or email somebody and they have their read receipts on, so you know when they read your text or email.
Yep.
And the thing I appreciate is when they actually respond.
In a
when
timely manner.
Exactly. But if you see it and they that they read it, or you know this person particularly is at work in front of their computer and they don't email you back. That's not the little thing. Like
No.
that, the little thing is responding.
It'd be like us
Like-
talking and then me walking away mid
Yeah, it's just like, oh fuck you. I'm sorry, you know. Like oh okay, cool.
Someone else
you
is
know?
talking to me over here. I gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little thing. Responding in a timely manner when people know that you've read it.
I know, but also to add to that, why you got your read receipt on? Like why?
Who does that?
Why are you gonna if you're not gonna respond
Just
to
turn it
somebody?
off, man.
Just turn it
Who
off.
does the red? Like,
'Cause-
I mean, quite frankly, it's like a mom thing. You
It
know?
is.
It's like one of those things where you expect your mom who doesn't know shit about technology to turn that on to know that
It's
you
like-
saw her text.
It's like they want you to know they're an asshole.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they want you to know, like,
It is, especially if you have something pressing and they know that it's coming, and you're like, I need you to respond, and then you see it's red.
You should, yeah. If you are potentially not going to answer people quickly, if you're busy or whatever, just turn that shit off.
Turn that
man.
shit off.
Turn that
Yeah.
shit off.
because like Facebook don't give you an option, do they?
No. Facebook really fucks you because
Yeah.
if you get an invite to something and you look at the invite but don't say you're going or maybe or whatever, it says you looked at it.
You've read the invite, yeah.
That's bad. 'Cause
Yeah.
I say that I don't see those invites, but I do, and I just ignore them.
Your old
People
roommate.
go, I know you saw it.
Yeah.
You're lying to me.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Your old roommate did that party recently. I totally clicked on the thing and didn't put anything.
Well, good,
You know,
good.
He's,
that was
yeah.
on purpose though.
My little thing. My little thing is. Oh, and I think I said this before,
You can't double up.
but I don't think I said it like this.
All right.
When a stranger compliments you.
I don't think you've said this.
Okay, well, I'm saying it now.
Someone should make a record of this.
This is a very subtle, nice thing to do to somebody, and like I don't know, like when men and women do it, like when a man does it to a woman, it can be creepy.
okay.
It can be creepy, like
We gotta do it in the right
So what is
context.
this?
get it in the
Thing.
context. like obviously, I don't know. People don't like
Stranger
it.
or like
a stranger, yeah, like a stranger
friend
comes.
of a friend.
Like, okay, say you're a woman, you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden some dude just comes up and is like, "Dang, you fine."
That's a
weird.
cat call though.
That's weird.
Technically.
But
Yeah,
it's kind
that's
of a
creepy.
compliment.
Yeah, that's creepy. I mean,
Kind
that-
of. So
But
so
in
you're
a worse
saying,
sense. But what I'm
know.
saying is, like in my scenario, let's just say I'm wearing a dope ass shirt that day, and they say,
right.
"That's a cool shirt," or actually, speaking of somebody taking advantage of my little thing, this.
Whoa. Somebody took advantage of your.
Okay. I set myself up for that one, but like
saying.
someone. I used to live
That's
downtown,
amazing.
downtown Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
and I was walking down the street. Some dude just like straight up said, "Damn, I like those shoes. Those are dope ass shoes," and I was like, "Well, they're just like normal ass Nikes. Like I don't know why you." I was like, "Thank you." By the way, would you want to give money for my charity? Because I'm da-da-da-da. And I was like, dang. I
yeah.
thought you genuinely meant you like my shoes.
No.
But you took advantage of my little thing.
fail at life.
But if someone genuinely means it, I think that's dope.
Like a random
Yeah.
compliment.
Because
So it's a
it's
random
like- it's-
compliment.
Yeah,
Random
random
act of,
compliment.
of kindness, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So hold on a sec.
Like that.
Ooh. Ooh, damn.
That's awesome. That's an awesome sour. I want to
Thank you.
introduce this one before you say yours.
Okay, so this beer is called La Suerte, and it's our 7-year anniversary beer. We celebrate our anniversaries in January because our brewing anniversary was in November of 2009. Our tap room opened in February of 2010, so we just figured after the holidays, after that mess is done, then we'll celebrate, and it'll be, and it's somewhere in between the two.
All right.
So, anyways, we just celebrated it. This beer is we're calling it an Imperial Mexican Stout. So, 7-year anniversary, we figured we'd make it a 14% alcohol beer,
Jesus.
just
Christ.
because.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then it's an imperial Mexican stout, so it's a big ass stout with the Mexican components are cinnamon, chocolate, chili, vanilla, and then we used flaked corn in the mash.
Oh, cool.
So kind of trying to get as many elements in there as we could. So
Last
kind of a
cheers this one up.
cheers, guys.
Thank you for this. Cheers to you guys. 7 years deep. That's,
you.
That's a milestone, my dude.
Ooh, that's spicy.
It's chewy.
Ooh, that's
It's a big,
spicy.
it's a big one.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. We got some kick on the back end.
I taste that 14 though.
Yeah.
Taste
Yeah.
that 14.
Give me that tingles, though.
It's a big one, and it doesn't. I mean, for me, it sort of disguises the alcohol more than like I don't feel like.
Yeah.
If you think about drinking like a glass of a big wine, like a Zinfandel or something, you right away you feel it's the alcohol, like the legs. If you swirl the
Right.
glass around, it's like you see the alcohol there. And if when you drink it, it's like, oh yeah, that's big. But I don't know. I feel like there's the other elements in this beer kind of help hide that. The body
Yeah.
helps hide it a bit.
For sure.
Some of those spicy, cinnamony, vanilla notes kind of help disguise it a little too. It's like, ooh, chocolate. Oh yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
this, I'm getting that, and then it's like, oh,
That's a
now
nice
I'm drunk,
combination.
man.
Now I'm drunk.
Damn,
now
I
I
didn't
can't
even
taste
notice.
anything.
I feel like the end of it like kind of tastes like it's almost like a whiskey barrel aged for some reason. I don't
Probably. So this is not a whiskey barrel aged,
No, I know that, but,
but it's probably like the vanilla. That's
yeah.
vanillin is a component that comes out of wood. Like you put a beer without vanilla beans in it, you put it in an oak barrel. A lot of times you'll get this vanilla character out because vanillin is a flavor compound that's actually in the wood, and
Yeah.
so it's so that's probably part of these little
Yeah.
flavor threads. Some of the roastiness, some of the alcohol, some of that might also
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
kind of
I'm getting all sorts of like every
hitting-
sip I'm getting
hitting your
something
brain.
different.
Yeah.
It's like
Ooh,
complex.
that very complex beer.
It's and this one we put into cans as well because everyone loves cans these days. I mean, we like them too. They're really fun actually. It's nice to
Yeah.
change up the format. It's nice to put beer into a format that's really easy to transport and
Yeah.
there's nothing against bottles. Like bottles are great too, but
Love bottles. Love them.
yeah. But
Yeah.
this is a fun, different format.
Yeah, it's cool. I dig it.
So, your little thing. You got one?
Yeah. What's your little thing?
Oh, my little thing. I mean, I don't know. When you mentioned it to me, I was just thinking like, grateful for the little things. I was just gonna say I'm grateful for this team we have here. It's such a
Hey.
hardworking, awesome crew of people, and yeah. So I'm not in the same necessarily realm as you guys were for yours. But
it's-
No.
that's
Dude,
what I got.
that's a
That's
thing.
mine.
Dude, yeah, that's awesome. No, we always have like random, like little things that are usually big things, and we call them little big things.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
teamwork and the fact that you guys got
having a
like
solid crew. I feel
solid
like
crew.
that's
a good.
I mean, just finding the right group. It sounds like you have the right group for what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
and like that's a little thing. Like but it it is a big thing at the same time.
It is. I mean, it's just, I guess, appreciating those things that are just part of your everyday life. Because when it's part of everyday life, a lot of times you just overlook it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, of course.
Or it's just, hey, this is my routine. This is what I do. And you just kind of forget about it, and it's, you maybe take it for granted or something. But
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we started the little things. It's like we're just catching ourselves being psyched on like little ass stuff that happened throughout
The day
the
or
week
like,
or the day,
yeah.
And it was like, man, we should make this a topic because everyone can relate to that, like some little thing that happened to them,
Yeah.
or
It's a good idea.
a little aspect of their life that, like what you just said, like I don't know. I'm psyched. I'm psyched on my friend group too. But I mean, I feel like you guys got like a family here. Like it's. I mean, you guys got paintings of yourselves on the wall. It's like
No.
it's rad. You
Dude.
know, it's like a gallery of awesome. Like right here.
Yeah, I mean, we try to keep it a close knit family vibe here. I mean, that's
I dig it. I dig it. It's very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well,
You got any last things you want to say?
yeah.
no. Thank you guys for coming out, and thanks for
thank
including
you.
me and Eagle Rock Brewery on this. It's been a lot of fun.
All right,
Yeah,
man.
appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it, man. And thank you for
Going
sharing
forward.
all this stuff. Like, I know that your whole vibe is to create a beer community and create knowledge about the beers that you create.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about. So it was dope to like be able to share that with you. And
Yeah. Do you
That's
guys
awesome.
have any anything? Well, I mean, besides
to
the
eventually
Valentine's
mention.
thing that we talked about earlier, Women's Beer Forum. When's the next Women's Beer Forum?
It will be the 15th. So actually the day after our video game Valentine's Day thing.
Cool. So go check out those.
It's usually typically it's the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay. Cool. So go. Well, come here. Check those out.
Yeah.
You guys got social media, right?
Yeah, we're Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Rock Brew,
Okay.
and Facebook Eagle Rock Brewery. Yeah.
Dope.
That's
All
awesome.
right. Drew, what are you up to?
Ooh, so your boy will be at the Grammys Sunday. I'll be filming Grammy stuff until then. You can see fun posts about that on at Drew Pasley, DREWPASLAY.
Yeah. And shit, how are you putting this up? By the time you hear it, it'll be on Friday the 10th.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
got a new
have
show.
Yeah, but it's
Tell 'em about the
yeah.
show.
Okay, I'll tell them about the show. So, I associate produced this show called Hunted on CBS, and it's happens to be doing really well. So go check out my
Congrats.
team that I was with. Thanks, man. It was I was with English and Steven King to be exact.
Ooh,
which is, yeah,
That's
really
very
weird.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. Very challenging, very hard. Go check it out. It's on Wednesdays on CBS. I think it's 7. I think that's the time. But yeah, go check them out. It's episode. They just debuted on episode 4. I think we're going an 8-episode season, so you guys can see where they end up. If they get caught or not, I know you don't. So
Don't say anything. I know you're tipsy right now. Do not tell them the ending of your show.
I can't tell them nothing. You know how bad I'll get sued?
Yeah, you'll be destroyed.
It would be ridiculous. But anyways, I'm super proud of that. Go check them out. They also have a thing on all the social medias. Go check that stuff out. We're going to be doing a new thing starting next week. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. And me and Drew are filming a part that we're going to try to get out by the time this season's done and before I leave for Nashville. We got to thank Eagle Rock Brewery.
Yeah, thank you, Eagle Rock.
Thank you. Thank
You
you
guys,
so much.
Jeremy and Chelsea and everybody here who are very accommodating.
Yeah, this place is dope. You guys should definitely come see it. Drink their beers.
The beers are tasty as fuck.
Yeah.
Do that.
Hit
The
up
wine
this-
of beers.
the wine of it, that barrel aged.
That barrel aged Union.
Ooh.
That's my
That's the
favorite.
fire.
That's our favorite. Quick Sixer has put a stamp on barrel aged Union.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Bow. Hey guys, it's Pat from Quick Sixer. We want to help out our friend Charlie, who has type 1 diabetes. This is not a curable thing right now, and we are going to insert a link in our show notes so you can help his dad, Kevin, fight the good fight and get this thing a cure, because nobody should have type 1 diabetes. Thanks.